If you retired at 55 and you're thinking you need to take CPP as soon as possible at 60 before all those years of zero contributions wreck your benefit, I want to stop you right there. That instinct, take it at 60 before 0 years pile up, is one of the most expensive CPP mistakes I see Canadians make. And the reason most people make it is because no one told them about one specific rule built into the CPP formula that absorbs most of those 0 years automatically. It's called the general dropout provision. And once you understand how it works, the math on the decision looks completely different. Hi, I'm Stefano Francesca, Certified Financial Planner and Senior Wealth Advisor at Next Step Wealth Management with IPC Securities Corporation. Let's get into it. Here is why that fear makes sense and why it's still leading people to the wrong decision. CPP is earnings-based. Stop contributing and those 0 years sit inside your calculation. Logically, the longer you wait, the more zeros accumulate, the lower your benefit. Take it at 60, you cut your losses. That logic is completely understandable. It's also missing the most important part of how CPP actually calculates your benefit, and that part changes everything. Here's what most Canadians who retire early don't know. CPP already expects that you won't work from age 18 to 65 without interruption. It's built into the formula. The government automatically removes your lowest 17% of earning months from the calculation before your benefit is even calculated. That's called the general dropout provision. And it happens automatically without you doing anything every single time. If you work the full period from age 18 to 65, that 17% works out to roughly 8 years of your lowest earnings simply wiped from the record. Gone, as if they never existed. Now here's what that means for someone who retired at 55. Those zero contribution years you're worried about, they're already among your lowest earning months, which means a significant portion of them are being dropped out before the formula even runs. The system already knew you might stop early. It built in a buffer. If you find this useful, and this changes the math for most people I sit down with, take 2 seconds to like and subscribe. It helps more Canadians find this content. Now here's where the decision gets interesting. So the dropout provision softens the blow of those 0 years. But here is the question that actually matters. Is the penalty for taking CPP at 60, that 36% reduction, bigger or smaller than the damage from those 0 years? The answer, for most of you, when you run the math, it's that the early taking penalty is a bigger reduction by a significant margin. Taking CPP at 60 means a permanent reduction of 0.6% every month before age 65. That is a 36% cut to your monthly benefit. Not temporary, not until you turn 65, permanently for every single month for the rest of your life. On the other side, waiting past 65 adds 0.7% per month, up to 42% increase if you defer all the way to age 70. Also permanent, also indexed to inflation for life. When you put those two numbers beside the actual impact of zero contribution years, which the dropout provision has already significantly absorbed, the early taking penalty is almost always the larger variable, not the 0 years. What that means in practice, most Canadians who retire 55 will receive a higher monthly benefit by waiting rather than rushing to take CPP at 60, even with years of no contributions on the record. Here's something that will genuinely frustrate you and probably change how you've been reading your own retirement picture. The CPP estimate sitting in your My Service Canada account right now is almost certainly different than what you'll actually receive. Why? Well, firstly, just look at the disclaimer on the Service Canada benefit estimate. Benefit estimates may not reflect recent changes to the CPP or take into account future earnings, contributions, and CPP provisions that could affect your benefits. The actual amount of your benefit can only be calculated when we process your application. Service Canada's online estimate don't fully apply all the dropout provisions like the child rearing provision if it applies to you. It also assumes you will continue working until the exact date that the CPP starts. For someone retiring early, it probably shows more than what you're entitled to. It also doesn't take into account inflation for the increase in yearly maximal pensionable earnings, which can really boost your benefit. There's also no accounting for what happens to your calculation if you delay past 65, where your lowest pre-65 earning periods get replaced by the post-65 calculation, which can actually push your benefit higher. So if you're retired at 55, looked at your My Service Canada estimate, saw a number, and started making decisions based on that, you may have been working on the wrong information. One more thing on the child rearing provision specifically. If you were the primary caregiver for a child under 7 at any point in time in your career, there's a separate provision that excludes those low earning years from your CPP calculation. But unlike the general dropout, this one does not happen automatically. You have to apply for it when you submit your CPP application. Many Canadians leave it unclaimed simply because they don't know to ask. If you just heard that and thought, I have no idea what my real CPP number is, and I've been planning around the wrong figure, this is one of the many conversations we have as part of our wealth management service. We work through your actual contribution history, apply every provision that applies to you, and build your CPP timing into a full income plan. There's one more dimension to this decision that most people never consider, and it's the one that can make the biggest difference to your overall tax bill in retirement. If you have a large RRSP and you take CPP at 60, you now have CPP income arriving on top of whatever you're drawing from your RRSP. That stacks. It can push you into higher tax brackets earlier than you need to be. It can trigger OAS recovery tax down the line, and it forces your RRSP to deplete faster in years where a lower income level would have served you better. On the other hand, if you retire at 55, delay CPP, and use those early years to draw down your RRSP strategically at lower income levels before OAS and CPP come online, you may end up in a meaningfully better tax position for the entire arc of retirement. Planners sometimes call this the RRSP meltdown strategy, and we did a video on this previously. CPP deferral is often a key part of making it work, and it only works if the decision is made before the income starts, not after. CPP timing doesn't just affect your CPP, it affects your RRSP drawdown rate, your tax brackets, your OAS clawback risk, and your overall income plan for potentially 30 years of retirement. It is one decision with a very, very long tail. Here's what this video should change for you. If you retired at 55 and you've been planning to take CPP out at 60 out of fear of 0 years, fear of a low Service Canada estimate, fear of leaving money on the table, that fear is based on an incomplete picture. The dropout provision absorbs a significant portion of those years automatically. The penalty for taking CPP early is almost always the larger variable. Your Service Canada estimate is probably incorrect unless you're retiring tomorrow, and the child rearing provision, if it applies to you, needs to be applied for. It will not happen on its own. What this decision actually requires is a full income plan, one that maps CPP against your RRSP drawdown, your tax brackets, your OAS, and how long all of those needs to last. That plan is not built by default. It is built deliberately, and the window to build it well is right now, not the morning you apply for your CPP. If you're retired early or are planning to, and you want to understand exactly how CPP fits into your full retirement income picture, when to take it, how it interacts with your RRSP, your TFSA, and your OAS, click the link in the description to book a consultation. This is exactly the kind of planning we do every day with Canadians in your situation. If you're working with an advisor that's only product focused and you're not getting this type of advice, maybe it's time to upgrade and get more comprehensive planning working for you. This is just one of the integral pieces in our Next Step Wealth Management service. We'd be glad to speak with you about it. Let's take the next step.